कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधो, कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधो, अरे कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधो, कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधो। साहब मिले सबूरी में, अरे साहब मिले सबूरी में, मन लागो यार फकीरी में, मन लागो।
All right. So, what is the topic for today? We want to look at ambition. So, as I enter, I see that we have been singing Kabir. Kabir talking about achievement, about ambition, about greed and desire. And he seems to be taking a clear position. It's unmistakable. He does not leave it ambiguous. There is a sense of condemnation in what he is saying. And then there are others who would point to the virtues of ambition, who would say that ambition is the motivator of human progress, that the heights that the human civilization seems to be touching today have happened because of the desire to change. We have had a lot of this. The ambition is good versus ambition is bad kind of a debate. We could approach it a little differently. We could ask ourselves, what is ambition? Instead of asking, is ambition good or is ambition bad, which is all quite childish, we could ask ourselves, what is ambition? But as I proceed to take that line, it occurs to me that a lot has been said in that context as well. All of us here are learned people who I suppose have an interest in the subtleties of life, and they would have surely thought over this question, what is ambition? So, what do we do we could take the same beaten path again, try to see what is ambition, go into it, the restlessness of the mind, the desire to reach somewhere, and such things. Or I am prompted to ask a more fundamental question. Is ambition not is ambition good or is ambition bad? Not even what is ambition, simply is ambition. When we say ambition, what do we mean? Yes, what do we mean? When we say ambition, what do we mean?
So want to do something. Want to do. I want to do.
A desire to achieve something.
Want to do something, desire to achieve something.
And something which is difficult to achieve. It's difficult.
Want to overcome a challenge. Yes, please.
Move towards a reality, a desired reality, which promises something more than what I have right now.
Move towards a desire that promises more than what you have. So, the word ambition is very closely related to change. Whether you say desire or whether you say achievement, what you necessarily imply is that you want things to change. You could simply say that the mind is not contented with its present situation, and so it professes that it wants something else. That something else you could call as a dream, a destination, a target, a utopia, a heaven, or enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. But we all seem to accept that we live with a constant urge to change, right? In fact, our activities, big and small, daily, monthly, and yearly, as individuals and as societies and communities, they all seem to suggest very clearly that we are not quite satisfied with what is there. And we want more, or we want less. What is certain is that what is there is not quite all right. It needs to change, right? It could be something as small as the color of the walls of my house, or the TV channel that I am watching, the job that I am in, the locality that I live in, Or it could be something that sounds much more magnificent. One could say, I want to change the world. I want to leave a better earth for the next generation. What is common amongst all of these is that we want to change. In fact, this change is what seems to be moving us from morning till night. We say we are not quite all right. Our full potential has not yet been achieved. And for achievement and realization of that, we must act. It is still not as good as it could have been. So the situation needs to change. I want to question that with you. Is ambition, do we really want to change? Yes, of course, superficially, it really looks as if we are so keen for change. In matters big and small, personal and social, economic, political, religious, it really looks as if we are extremely keen to have a new face and also to see a new face of the world. We celebrate when the economy grows. We keep on talking of new horizons. So there is a lot of activity around this desire. But what is this desire really? I suppose we all would agree that superficially it does seem as if we want something. And life is supposed to be a journey, a movement towards that thing. But this morning, I want us to look at that again. The mental model that we have is that we want something, and the purpose of human life is to move towards that thing in all kinds of ways. So we want change. And that's what also our education and the poets and the various systems around us seem to be suggesting us, advising us. That you are not yet where you could have been. So keep moving. A better tomorrow waits for you. That kind of a line seems so inspirational, does it not? A better tomorrow waits for you. Let's honestly ask then, do we really want a better tomorrow? Yes, we claim that. Do we really want to change? There is a lot of activity that goes on. There is a lot of strife, conflict, effort. It could easily appear that we are really, really sincere in trying for our betterment. There have been revolutions so that man could live a better life. People have laid down their lives. And then there is science that seems to be doing so much, changing everything around us. But is anything really changing? We just talked of science. The scientist, the researcher, who comes up with a new discovery or a new invention. Has he moved closer to that destination that we all seem to covet? Yes, of course, something has changed on the papers. Yes, of course, something has changed as far as the material in his hand goes. A new theory, a new application, a new product has come up. But has anything really changed? Has the scientist just come upon some facts? Or is there a truth? That has nothing to do with what he has been doing. Yes, he will say that I have discovered the truth regarding something. But is the truth permeating him? Is it changing something fundamental within him? Is it going down to his heartbeat, to his breath? Is he a different man after the discovery? Or is it so that the discovery, the invention, the research, all the effort comes so that real change doesn't happen? Are we desirous for change, or are we utterly resistant towards change? And when I say, I repeat, that we all would admit that on the surface it surely looks as if we are very sincere towards changing, right? But the same question again. You are indeed making a lot of efforts, but are those efforts intended to really, deeply and fundamentally change you? Or to guard you against changing? Yes, of course, we want to change our clothes. We want to change our car. But do we really want to change our mind stuff? Yes? We want to modernize our armies and we want to bring about a change that way. Yes, it's a very modern army now. It has changed, doesn't look the same way it used to like 20 years back. But has the purpose of the army changed? Yes, you could be a very advanced nation state. But has the very reason why nation states exist changed? Yes, you could now be praying to a different god or going to a different temple or church or mosque. But has the reason behind your worship changed? Yes, now you could be with a different partner, a new man or a new woman. The name of the person has changed. But has the very nature of relationship changed? Are we looking for change? Or are we hell-bent on blocking change? Is not change knocking at our doors all the time? Is not life telling us continuously that change is needed? Does not the river know how to correct its course? Does not the tree and the flower know in which direction to grow? Insects, planets, the entire universe. Nothing is out of order. And if they deviate even to the slightest extent, there is an auto-correction. Existence corrects them. Surely man too is reminded again and again that he must change and correct. And if everything in existence finds change so simple, normal, easy, then why should changing be such a big deal for mankind? Why should we be saying that I am devoting my life towards bringing about change? When nothing in the universe is really intent upon changing. Why? Because it is changing all the time. Hence it never goes so wrong, so misplaced, that it needs a big correction. Then why is it so that only man says that he has become so bad, so rotten and so corrupt that he needs a big revolutionary change? I repeat what I am saying. When you look around, you do not find stuff that has gone so bad that it is in need of a disastrous change. And why does nothing in nature ever deviate so much from its nature? Because it is very prepared to change. Species evolve, and when their time is up, they disappear. Planets follow a certain course. Water knows when to evaporate. It's changing, right? From the liquid state to the gaseous state. And it changes without effort and without resistance. So nothing in existence seems to be crazy for changing. Man says, no. Things are not proper. The world is not yet right. And the responsibility is upon me to set things right. So my question would be, only that can be set right which has firstly gone wrong. How is it so that you have gone so wrong? And you have gone wrong when the universe is always suggesting to you to go right and to correct yourself. If you are going wrong, even when everything around you is trying to act as an eye-opener, what does it suggest? Do you want to change or do you want to resist change? Look at the lives of the people around you, or look at your own life. Do not our daily forgetfulnesses, ingratitudes, sufferings, tensions, all tell us that what we think of as right and wonderful and worth preserving is not quite right. If only we were not so adamant upon upholding our own opinions and beliefs against the simple facts of life, then it should be abundantly clear that we need to change today, right now, and change simply. There is a lot that is rotten about us and around us. It needs to be discarded. The mind is crying aloud and life is crying aloud, change. And we too are crying aloud, change. Now life is honest. I don't think we need to debate that. Life is surely saying change. And we are joining the chorus by saying, yes, change. Yet man does not fundamentally seem to change. Of course, as we said, superficially you can change something. The color of your t-shirt, how does it matter? And we change that so much, right? And so frequently. That changing which would bring about no real change, we are too eager to change. So life is surely suggesting change. And we too are saying change, yet nothing changes. Must we not infer that somebody is not quite honest? That there is something within us that deeply resists any kind of change, even though 1,000 Buddhas have tried their heart out. And there have been great and turbulent revolutions of all kinds. Man has tried everything, changing the outer, trying to change the inner via the outer, the Russian Revolution, the French Revolution, this system, that system, a new religion, a new prophet. Yet man has remained what he has been. So instead of talking about ambition, which seems more like a pseudo discussion, I would rather want to ask you, why don't you change? Everything that could be tried has been tried on you. You were singing Kabir before I came here. The man had a big heart. He kept saying, he kept saying, he kept saying, have you changed? And if you say that you do want to change, yet you find yourself unable to change, then I invite you to inquire, what is it within you that does not allow you to change? What is this tremendous resistance to the truth? On one hand, you want to join the orchestra, the chorus of life, as it tells you. Correct. Come to the center. Normalize. On the other hand, you say, no, not at all. I'll die rather than change. Yes, of course, because you are insisting so much, so let me come up with a few things here and there to placate you. Let's come up with a new dish tonight. Let's come up with a new word. Let's buy a new car. Hey, did you watch that new release? Whom are we fooling? Alright, I can't buy a new car. Let me change my car tires. Or let me change my steering cover or my underwear. Whom are we fooling? My girlfriend stinks. I'll change her. And if I can't change her, I'll change her name. Have you seen how we change names of our related ones? We forget that life is not the place where diplomacy works. It seems that we are not only conditioned, but have a terrible tendency to sustain the conditioning. Because had we been only conditioned, and all conditioning comes from outside, had we been only conditioned, then another kind of conditioning could have reversed that conditioning. So you could have said that, my education taught me violence, so another kind of education can teach me peace. And it would have all been so easy. Had we just been conditioned, matters would not have been so pathetic. There is also something deeper within us. Something that says, I want to remain conditioned. Yes, of course, you have all the freedom to change the type of conditioning. But if you will attack the very basis, the very ground of conditioning, then I'll come up with a horrible, vicious, ferocious resistance and counterattack. Give me new kinds of falsenesses. I'm all right with that. Don't give me the truth. What is it? What is it? I'm curious. I want to know. I really don't know. At least not as I sit in front of you. I have no idea at all. Why don't you change?
Change is death, so that's why we are not getting change.
Are you happy living this way? And if you are happy living this way, then why don't you just continue living? Why do you insist that you want to change? On one hand, we claim that we are so terrified of death. On the other hand, we continuously want to bring an end to the current state of affairs. If you want to bring to an end the current state of affairs, then surely you want to kill something, right? Then how do you say that you are afraid of death?
We have some fixed idea of change, means these are favorable changes which should happen, then we will be. So we focus on beyond those changes. It really keep us stuck.
And what happens when something more honest, more real comes to you, talks to you, looks you in the face? What happens then?
Fear of unknown. There is fear of unknown.
The known is something that does not please you in your own words, right? In your own words, the known is something that does not please you, and your actions prove that. Look at your restlessness. Are you happy with the known? Are you happy entering the same car as this session will get over? Or would you rather have a bigger and better, maybe a limousine or something? Would you discard it if it waits for you outside? Yes? Anybody who is happy with his present car, so happy that you discard a limousine? Alright, you may be short of parking space and all that. I understand. What if it comes along with parking space? If you say you are afraid of the unknown, tell me, are you so happy with the known? And if you aren't, why are you so scared to change? What is this sick resistance? I'm not here to talk of ambition as a disease. I'm rather talking about the resistance as a disease. We are not ambitious at all. We are not at all ambitious. Had we been ambitious, would we have been like this? Look at your face. Are you ambitious? Yes, Kabir was ambitious. And it looks quite odd when we sing Kabir, no? With so little life, often mispronouncing. And how does it sound when the same stuff comes out of a Kabir's mouth? Can we even imagine? Yes, so what is it? Man has been around for millions of years now. Yet the tales that we read of the ancients sound so similar to our own tales, don't they? Somebody ran away with somebody's wife, people fought over land, somebody was hassling his son and trying to take a commitment from him. Stories thousands of years old are still the stories that you can relate to. Can you not? Yes, then they might be communicating with the help of pigeons. You're talking over smartphones. But aren't you relaying the same messages? Darling, I love you. Has anything changed? Where is ambition? Ambition means change by definition. Where is the change? Why are you so resistant? You have been a pigeon once. You remember that? You were an elephant 15,000 years back. You've seen all that. You've experienced everything. It's not as if there is something new left to explore. What are you waiting for? And again, this real change is not something that you have to bring about. We said life is continuously nudging you, imploring you. Very gently showing you the direction. All the time. You do not need any great revolution. Why do you ignore? Ignoring is such a meek word. Why do you bite back like a rabid dog? Why such great contempt towards the truth? You need to tell me. We have been together in this hall many times. Do you know how many times? 1,000,000 times. Somebody has been speaking, somebody has been hearing, nobody has been listening. Why? Why don't you listen? Why don't you really change? Do we firstly see, just want to get it out from your mouth, do we firstly see that we are conditioned? Yes? Do we see that? We see that, and you have to admit it, right? Do we see that? We see that? Aloud. Do we see that? And why don't you cast it off? Why do you require somebody to be sitting on this podium and talking these things of common sense to you? And why has it always been needed? A Krishna, Jesus, a Buddha, a Kabir, any teacher, is he really needed? If you can see that the mind is polluted and corrupted, that things are not quite right, then why don't you just simply, automatically do what must be done? I'm not here to talk about the truth. Enough has been said about all that. I don't want to bring to you something that you have no idea of, no taste of, no experience, no flavor of. The beyond, the transcendental. I want to ask you, don't you already know so much? You may say, no, I am an ignorant being, I am so humble, I cannot claim that I know much. Alright, do you know even a little? Of course you do. You just did admit that you know that you are conditioned, right? So you know at least to that extent. You know that you are conditioned. This much is clear to each one of us. If we just look at our habits, our opinions, our prejudices, our various failings, it is very clear that the mind is in a grip of something. Is it not? And if this much is clear, then why don't you simply keep it away, shrug it off? Why do you sustain it? Why do you support it? Why this lack of ambition? To me, only a spiritual man is an ambitious man. I do not regard the corporate honchos and the presidents as ambitious at all. They have no ambition. Had they had any ambition, would they had their billions? Real ambition is that which reaches its climax, its realization, It's fructification. If you have ambition, then you cannot have anything else. Because ambition can only be for that which you really want. And ambition is not worth its A if it cannot materialize. It must it must have that passion that it really achieves. Just as the blade of grass achieves, such must be the passion. Such must be the passion. So simple. What? Did you think that I'm talking motivational stuff? Only that much of passion is needed. Only that much of passion is needed. The blade of grass is so alright. Why can't we be alright? Why do we look so sick? Even as I am speaking, are you changing? Are you allowing yourself even to listen? I'm not asking for your support. I'm just asking you to not to resist. Your active cooperation is not needed. Whatever you do actively only spoils things. So kindly don't give your active help. I'm again asking you, what is it within you? What kind of a frozen system? Yes. And remember, when I'm saying you, I do not mean you in a personal sense. I mean you, referring to the entire mankind. Mankind not only of today, but of the entire past and of the future as well.
Could this be because of our genetic makeup, our evolution as...
Are we so very unfortunate? Are we the condemned child of nature? Look at that tree outside. How it is basking in the sun. It does not even need to attend this talk. And here we are wondering whether we are genetically handicapped or something. I looked at a dog and, it didn't have one of his legs. Coolly it was lying in the sun, rather warmly. It didn't seem to be cursing its luck. And we are asking, whether there is something wrong with our genes. The dog has no conception of genes and is all right. And we know so much about genetics. And that knowledge is being used to curse ourselves further. In daily matters of life, do we know what is proper? Often we do, right? When we don't, then let's not talk about it. One is not obliged to know everything. But when you do know, do you still live by what you know? When you know what needs to be done, do you give it everything that you have? Are you totally, simply and directly committed to it? Do you know anything called commitment? Once I know what is right, I won't budge. Not even the slightest of deviation is acceptable now. Yes. The birds know when to sleep, don't they? Ever seen a bird deviating? Have you? And you are not so ignorant. You know a lot. You are at least as intelligent as the insect. And that's a lot. What is this willing alignment with the evil? Not out of ignorance. A willful, deliberate alignment with the evil. What is this, I want to ask? What is this? Nothing new can be said. It can only be repeated in more befitting, more relevant, more contextual, more timely ways. A 1,000 times, a million times, it has already been said. A lot of times you have missed it, but many times you have in fact heard it. Why do you reject it? Why must there be prophet after prophet and saint after saint and teacher after teacher and book after book and scripture after scripture and talk after talk? Why? Why can't we just simply understand? Why make heavy weather of what is absolutely simple? Please examine your own life and your minds and ask yourself, what happens in those moments when I am rejecting the truth? What exactly is happening in my mind? Please try to inquire. There is this moment. When clarity is knocking and you are saying no, please ask yourself what exactly happens. What is the mechanism? What is the entire structure of the resisting force? What happens? You're overpowered. You forget. What happens? Could somebody come up with some insights? What exactly happens in that moment when you know you are not doing what you must be doing, when you are deliberately siding with the evil? What happens in that moment? Don't you feel like a thief? And how do you live with feeling like a thief? How? How do you manage to breathe? What happens in that moment? We all pass through those moments. This moment is one of those moments. You know you must respond, yet you are sitting with your tongue tied.
Overpowered and there is certain impotency which is covered with the face of potency. And it is sure that it goes with the truth.
So you realize that there is a certain impotency, right?
I realize it now.
In that moment, that realization is not only theoretical or verbal as it is right now. In that moment, you are experiencing it and submitting to it. In that moment, you are coined out to it, right?
Yes.
So, in fact, in that moment, you know that impotency very well.
Yes.
Hmm?
But we cannot let it go because we are very deep into it. And if we are
No, my question is different. I'm not asking you to let it go or something. If you have realized it and validated it so clearly, then why don't you live as an impotent man? If you have certified your impotency with such sincerity that you feel that it is important to kneel down in front of it, then live as an impotent man. Because now you certainly and honestly know that you are. So why don't you live like an impotent man? You are not saying just theoretically that you are impotent, right? You are living by it. That impotency is showing up in all your life decisions, right? Then why put up a brave face? If you sincerely admit it, and you not only admit it, you side with it, you support it. That's how you want to be. If that's how you want to be, then simply live as an impotent man. Simply say, I am so impotent and limp.
But potency as an ideal also exists in the mind. And then there is a problem. You are not potent enough to become potent.
You have very well seen that that ideal does not apply to you. And if that ideal has any significance for you, then why do you allow yourself to be impotent? You say you have an ideal. If that ideal means anything to you, then would you act in opposition to that ideal? What are we talking? On one hand, we are saying we have a particular ideal. On the other hand, the life that we live is in contrast to that ideal. The ideal is an imagination. The life that you are living is something that you have stamped as your reality. And if you are so fine with it, if you are so fine with your impotency, then come out. Why hide?
Not fine with it, but it's like the potent you standing outside the door and you can see him a little bit.
What do you mean by see him a little bit? Have you ever experienced him?
At that moment, no, but it feels like this is not it.
So he's a dream. You have never been potent.
However, we live in a hope that we would be potent someday.
What do you mean by hope? When potency is something so unknown to you, how can you even hope for potency?
So even the potency that we talk about is just an imagination. Just
Yes, and somebody said that you are very afraid of the unknown. Potency is unknown. So that's something that you must be afraid of. How can you live in the hope of potency?
Because the unknown is known to somebody else, and I know that
That somebody else is not known to you. That unknown might be known to somebody else. But is that somebody else known to you?
Yes, I at least think so.
You just think of these things. But impotency is something that you breathe every day.
it seems that I'm so much clinging to the image of potency that I have, that I only try to be that, and all the energy is moving in that direction.
Madam, my question is simple. Impotency is our bone and our blood. And we seem to really have no problem with it because we support it every time a decision has to be made. Every single time we stand in support of what we are calling as impotency right now. And remember, when you support it, then you don't call it impotency. Then you give it very nice names. Then you call it love, duty, relationships, sincerity, commitment, religion. What else? Many other things. Responsibility. Then you call it many other things. You support it. If you support it so wholeheartedly,
So in fact, if it's not even a wholehearted support, it's like I'm doing something and I know it's not going to give me happiness, like it's not inner happiness, and then I convince myself that, see, you have to do it, it's okay, somehow you have to convince yourself, okay, let's go along with it. And that's how it goes. That's how I've been taking my decisions, and
so you have a
then
casting
thinking
vote,
hundred
right?
things to convince myself.
You are the one who decides.
And at one particular time, I mean, you just become ignorant. It's just, I mean, as time goes on, you just become ignorant and you just keep on doing that ways. I mean,
Yeah, the voice is loud in your head and you're like shutting it off. No.
So obviously there is something more powerful than that voice. I want to know what is that.
Our requirements.
Are they so big? How much do you require? How much do you really require?
That small is also big for ourselves because we need that. And to achieve that, we are doing all this.
How much does that tree require? How much does the bird require? How much does anything in existence require? And what is the price that you are paying for that which you say that you require?
So there is continuous propaganda from outside, and it has been from childhood. You have been told that as being you alone is important, and I have been given the concepts of potency, like I should be like
mind is such a lazy organ that it doesn't want to put, and the propaganda is coming continuously. It's not resting. So it cannot. The voice, mind requires real energy to find that all these voices overpowered.
Do you know this much? And if you do know this much, then what are you doing with the propaganda? Why do you allow it to enter your eyes, your ears, your mind? Why do you allow it to enter? If you indeed do know this much.
Sir, it really needs courage. And mind gives logic. If so many people are saying this thing, and it could be true or something like that. Mind feels.
So you're not sure, right? You don't know then. So I'm not talking about all that. I'm only talking about that which you really know and yet not execute. If you're not sure, then fine, we can be excused. Even if we are 1% unsure, then we could say, all right, because I was not sure, so I took a wrong decision. I'm talking about matters in which we are in fact sure and yet we act in variance with what we know.
So when we've known certain things and acted upon it, being perfectly sure that okay, this is what I want, then comes external stimulus telling that you're going wrong. Like this is the pattern, you are defying from it, you're going wrong, and when it comes from everywhere, then it's like.
Just a second. ये अब वापस मत लाइएगा, जरूरत नहीं.
Then it's like the same thing that he was saying, that the mind also starts thinking, am I actually going wrong? But then you know you're not going wrong, but the stimulus is like too much, too overwhelming, too.
Sir, I think the problem is more to do with the security that we get from being along with people who have.
Do you get any kind of security?
There is no security, but the mind.
So be clear. First of all, you said we get a particular security, then you are saying there is no security. Is there security or is there no security with people?
Our mind has been conditioned.
Is there or is there not?
They'll keep on.
Anuradha, for you, is there or is there not?
The mind is not sure. That's the reason.
Then we are not talking about it. Then you are all right. When you do not know whether or not there is security, then you would surely want to act a little defensive. So it's all right. I'm asking, is there something that you know with utmost certainty? Is there anything? And if there is one such thing, why don't you act on it?
Actually, man learns from experience. When we say experience is something, it's not possible.
So have you learnt anything? Is there anything that we have surely learnt with total clarity? Where we can say the matter stands closed and I am 100% confident of it. Is there something?
There is a fear that giving it to that sort of contentment might make you complacent eventually.
No, does it make you complacent?
It might, that is.
So you're not sure about it. So we cannot talk about it.
To go down that road.
So all right, it's all right. If you're not sure about something, then obviously you are justified in not taking a risk. We can excuse ourselves on that.
We cannot be sure because if we go down to how we are observing the reality, like if you go down the way of measurement, then there are physical laws which actually get in the way. So whatever we observe, whatever laws we create, they are bound to have some imperfections.
So, sir, you're right, we cannot be sure. I'm asking, is there anything of which you can be sure? No, nothing. Is that not a terrible thing to say? Do you exist? Are you sure of that? Are you sure of that? Are you thinking? Are you waiting to respond? Are you sure of all that? So there is something that you are sure of. Why don't you start from there? And be honest, at least with respect to that. Yes?
So sometimes we say that we are not sure, although we are sure, just so that real change doesn't happen. Just to let me not change.
So educate me. Why don't you want that real change?
So it's like I am not able to live without that change. I am just suffocating.
So do you want that change at all?
Yes, but
What is this but then?
but something that suddenly some fear comes.
What is that fear?
That fear is something.
So you know about it.
Some.
You need not speak further. You know something about that fear.
No.
You don't know anything about that
fear.
fear.
I know what this fear is for. That I don't know.
It's a crippling fear that just overpowers you and
What does it say? Or does it not say anything?
it says.
What does it say?
That is trying to do something.
What do you stand to lose? If it is coming to you so frequently, surely you must be talking to it. What does it say?
मेरे ख्याल से आइडिया ऑफ फॉरगेटफुलनेस बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट हो जाता है क्योंकि हम एक मोमेंट पे डिसाइड करते हैं कि मैं ये जरूर करूँगा पर उसके बाद फिर आइडेंटिफाई हो जाऊँगा मैं किसी चीज़ से फिर मुझे याद दिलाना पड़ता है और ये मतलब बचपन से होते आ रहा है पापा हमेशा कहते हैं कि पढ़ ले तो मैं कहता हूँ करेंगे बुलबुले की भांति की तरह उठते हैं फिर
So you know this much. You look quite composed as you are saying this. So may I believe that you know?
ये चीज़ मैं इतना बारे में कह सकता हूँ और ये आइडिया मेरे ख्याल से हमेशा से साथ रहा है
ख्याल से या पता है?
पता है और ख्याल में क्या अंतर है
बहुत अंतर है. आप क्या कहना चाहते हैं? पता है या ख्याल है? पता है. See, if you know, then where is the gap? Why don't you act and live by this knowing? So you know that.
There is lethargy, there is.
So you know that you are lethargic. So what are you doing about it?
This knowing also exists lethargy.
You know that as well.
So knowing and realization is a different thing. Until the
You realize that, all right. Is there anything that you realize? See, I am nobody to insist that you must realize. Right? All I'm asking is there anything that you realize? And if you do, then why is that realization not changing the entire structure of falseness?
I think it's a difference of magnitude. The realization is not just right enough to wipe out.
Then it is not realization. There is a thing called an immature or raw realization.
Realization needs a blow, change, but then we are not able to.
Aren't you receiving those blows every hour? Huh? The entire thing is swollen out of receiving blows. Blow after blow. How many more do we need?
Sir, it looks, I'm not willing to take the responsibility that when I change comes.
You know so much. See, such erudite words. I'm not willing to take the responsibility. You can even teach 1,000 people. Why don't you live by it?
So just the thought that now comes the time when I have to step up and take responsibility, it burdens me. As in, okay, it's you have to act on it now.
Let's go to that moment when the thing seizes the mind. What really happens then? Let's go close to it and figure out what really happens then. The truth is calling. It is suggesting to you that you are acting like a, for want of a better word, whatever. So you are being told that you are acting like an, and yet you are not doing what must be done. What really happens?
past habits are so strong to stop a person from doing anything new. And gradually it can be changed.
Why hasn't it changed? Yes, we live on that hope that it can be changed, but why hasn't it changed?
Because there is a power game involved.
So past habits, we have earned them throughout birth, and it is not easy to just change it in a moment. It will require some time.
There's a rebuke, there's a throwback, there's something inside which says that okay, it's not, we just don't want to face that uncomfort that comes when you have to walk against the pattern that you have been following. You have seen that this is bad, now the uncomfort part starts. So
No, I understand that you feel that discomfort and such things. And if the discomfort is very big upon you, then I have nothing to say. But aren't there moments when you know that you must bear the cost or pay the price?
शायद जिस मोमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं तो हम सेल्फ ऑब्जर्व ही नहीं है उस टाइम पे, तो जब वो मोमेंट बीत जाता है तब रियलाइज होता है.
That's nice, very nice. So we don't know anything about that moment, huh?
उस मोमेंट पे नहीं, आप इतने ज़्यादा है.
So I'm unnecessarily asking you to look at that moment, because we have no clue what happens in that moment. It just happens, right? It just happens.
Are you talking about the fight or flight response? That moment
We don't know.
Something else.
We don't know. It just happens.
No, sometimes you do have.
It's like you have been robbed when you are sleeping. Now you can later on decorate it with great names and descriptions. How does it matter? You can write an entire story around it. But you are being robbed while sleeping. Later on you can make a movie. How does it matter?
It happens subconsciously actually.
Alright, you were not really sleeping, you were simply drowsy. How does it matter whether you call it sleep or subconscious lethargy?
So it's like not even drowsy, we are sitting. We're sitting and we're seeing that we are being robbed, but we are not standing up. Or we are telling us it's okay.
So, while you are being robbed, you are also having a dream that you are being robbed. Does that mean that you know that you are being robbed?
and it just doesn't happen. There is, you know that it is going to happen. It's not just that moment. There is at least a good few moments when you know that now it is going to happen.
If you know it is now going to happen, then you are taking the whole discussion back by half an hour. You are again saying that you know and it still happens. Then I'll again ask you, if you know it still happens, then what is that great force in front of which you kneel down? You don't know. Fact is, when it happens, you have no clue.
Sometimes when the clarity happens, everything is clear.
In that moment, in that very moment when you are being robbed,
Actually, I'm saying when clarity happens.
not as a recollection. Does the clarity ever strike you in that very moment? When the action is to happen, when the decision is to be made?
When at that moment, on that moment, instead of taking the correct action, we feel like victorious. Now things are clear to us. Now our past actions or our current pattern will not rob us. Or now since everything is clear in front of us, now we are all knowing the things. Before that we are ignorant, but now everything is clear. Now we are out of that pattern. We feel kind of victory, or if things are clear. Although
Which is a false victory. You'd admit, right? It's like not showing up for the game and dreaming that you have won the trophy. Your name is being called out. Naveen Garg, please show up. It's your game now. And what's Naveen Garg doing? Snoring. And dreaming that he already has the trophy in his hands. You are imagining that you have clarity and victory. is the victory real? What kind of victory it is that is resulting in defeat?
At that point, it seems since things were not clear to me, that's why things are going in that way.
So now I know.
Yeah.
But when I say I know, the next movement, the action is not as per the knowing. Is it?
I mean, that becomes kind of celebration time.
So and now I can celebrate. Who bothers for acting? Right? Is this a victory? Is this a victory? So surely the victory was not real. So, it's all happening when we don't even know that it is happening, right? It is all happening when we don't even know that it is happening. We are smart people. By way of metaphor, we said that we are being robbed while asleep. But literally, we aren't sleeping when the robbery takes place. What are we doing? Let's say at this instance, you are not doing what you must. At this instance, what is it that you must be doing? All right. So let's see if something else is happening. And that something else is resulting in the robbery. As they say, broad daylight robbery. This is an example of that. See, broad daylight, and yet robbery is taking place. So what is happening? You're not asleep, Your eyes are open in that sense. In that sense, you're not asleep. So what is happening? Where are you? Where are you?
Constantly attached to that thing that what is taking place.
Yes, so if you're not listening, then what are you doing? Where are you? What are you doing?
Some thought gripping us.
Some thought is gripping you. And what is that thought about? Is that thought saying that everything is good and nice and okay? What is that thought saying?
Something is more important. Something has to be attended to.
Something has to be attended to. Something, in other words, needs to change. All right. That's interesting. So right when change is present, you are busy thinking of change, and in thinking of change, what are you doing? Resisting change. That which you really want is unavailable to you because you think of it so much. The truth will stand at an arm's length, and you will be dreaming of it. You will be dreaming how to get it from across the seas. And where is it? You can open your arms and hug it. But you are busy with more important matters. What are those matters? All those matters pertain to the truth, to that which you really, really want, right? You don't want to change to come to a more unfavorable state. Has anybody ever desired a change that makes him even more indisposed? In simple words, we want betterment, don't we? The betterment that we want is not something to chase. is not something to go after. The birds, the road, the traffic, the people around us, the sunlight, the moon, the buildings, the river, everything is constantly telling us the direction of change. But you are busy planning for change. You are busy thinking of it as if it were a remote matter. Man is the only one who wants it, and therefore man is the only one who does not get it. Nothing else in existence wants it, and so has it simply available. Man is the only one who writes scriptures, and hence man is the only one who is ignorant. You want it so desperately that you miss it. You want it so desperately that you keep resisting it. You love it so much that you want to kill it. So don't be so desperate. It comes on its own. Real ambitiousness lies in being a little less ambitious. When you are less ambitious, then that which you want comes to you on its own. It is continuously coming to you on its own. But when you are ambitious, then you close your doors. It's like you are rushing towards the temple and God meets you on the way. And what do you say? Old man, older than time, make way. I have more important matters to attend to. There is the idol of God waiting for me. And I assure you, God always meets you on the way when you are going towards the temple or the mall or the office or anywhere. Change is not something so difficult that you must plunge yourself heart and soul into it. It happens on its own. The planets all do move around the sun. When the center is still, the planets move. Change is happening on its own. None of them is trying. And when you try, you only spoil things. Whatever is a cause of suffering in your life has come out of your effort and intervention. Look into it. I challenge you, you will not find any bit of suffering that you have that does not have a stamp of your contribution. And I also invite you to see that whatever is delightful in your life has come to you not because of your effort. If only you are a little less busy, you will find things happen on their own. If you are a little less geared up to climb the rocks, you will find that you are already at the summit. The matter is very simple. We need not have talked so much about it. But because we are such gossip mongers, so let's have a few questions.
When we talk about the clarity for any desired goal, how important is it to actually quantify it?
Quantify what? What you want.
Yes.
Quantification comes 3 or 4 steps later. When you go to a shop, and you want to buy some clothes, what is it that the first thing that you decide on? How much to buy or whether to buy? Quantification comes way later. First thing is the qualitative assessment whether the thing is worth buying at all. If you find it's worth buying, then you say, all right, give me 4 kilograms of these pulses. But what is the first thing? You take the thing in your hand. You feel it. You try to come close to it. You figure out whether you really need it and whether what you need is this. Right? And then you decide about the quantity. Have you decided on the worth of the goal? Have you seen from where the goal comes and to whom? Or when you go to buy clothes, you just say, all right, cut 6 meters. What do you do first? First of all, you look at everything, then you look at your budget, then you say, well, do I really want clothes? And all that is qualitative, not quantitative. Do you really want what you are claiming that you want? You really want that? And if you really want that, then live by your word. After getting that, do not want anything else. And you have said that many a times, probably in these very words. Darling, I sincerely, absolutely love you. You are my first and last love. And what happens after that? Why don't you live by these words? You can't, because you never really meant what you were saying. First have clarity. Is it really worth chasing? Is it really worth chasing? all this while we have been saying that the chase does not bring you to the goal, but the chase takes you away from the goal, because the goal is very, very close to you. And here we are talking of quantifying. Quantifying what? The distance is so small that it cannot be quantified. If you have to go 1,000,000 miles, then talking of numbers makes sense. But if something is within an arm's reach, what is the point in quantifying and all? It is so close. Do you really want to make an arduous journey? For something that is in the heart's proximity.
Mind is a diseased organ, it always spoils whatever is being easily available.
If the mind is a diseased organ, then why do you trust it so much?
So, but even if I'm trying to see the clarity, then I am seeing through mind only. So,
If it is a diseased organ, then whatever you see through it, why can't you just reject it? Then why do you trust this unfaithful servant so much? If I have a machine that continuously gives me a wrong reading, let's say a thermometer, would I still use it and declare myself to be fit or feverish? On one hand, we come up in such humility and say, the mind is a diseased organ. And what do we do the next moment? We act as per the advice of the mind. Yes, that mind is diseased, so I reject whatever it says. Now let me see whether there is another way of living. Maybe I'll discover that the mind is not so diseased. Maybe when I know that the mind is diseased, the disease evaporates.
When the mind prompts us, it is just so realistic, as if there is nothing other.
When you do not know that all this is happening, when you are asleep, then anything can happen. A snake could crawl over you. But start by first asking, what is it that allows me? Rather, binds me, compels me to allow snakes to crawl over me even when I claim to be awake. And if I know a little of it, must I support it? All right, silence. That's the best thing. Thank you.